For anyone interested in getting into wargaming, Broken Arrow is a must-have purchase. There are technical issues that needed to be fixed and the balancing is still pretty wonky, but it's not as bad as some reviewers make it out to be. I have a powerful PC and can play just fine with decent graphics, though I wish could crank the graphics option to max. I agree that the balance between the factions is off, but a lot of complaining seems to come from skill issues regarding APS on tanks and EFV. I played a bunch of war games in this style, and as only player learned to play around it after a couple of days. It just takes some getting used to as tanks are much more powerful than similar games like Varno. There should probably be favor of them and they should be more expensive, but even in the current state is manageable. For anyone interested in getting into wargaming, Bro Arrow is a must-have purchase. It's probably the most beginner-friendly out of all of them, mostly due to amazing QOL options and the great point systems. Genre veterans will also be very pleased by the improvements it makes for a much more enjoyable experience. As just one example, imagine Eugene games having quite elo-based matchmaking for 5 versus 5 matches is incredible. There's only one big caveat to my recommendation: if you are looking to play single player only, don't bother with this game. The skirmish AI is awful and the campaigning, while being flashy and immersive at times, is heavily scripted and rather nonsensical story-wise. This game is being unfairly reviewed bomb and is a solid 30s and probably the best wargame genre game on Steam. Blows War and Steel Division out of the water, gameplay is fun and satisfying, which makes me want to play more. There are some issues with balancing emo. Russia bias seems to be a thing in multiplayer, but it can be also considering a skill issues which I can manage. The campaign is interesting, the mission scripting is pretty cool and seems pretty difficult. Haven't run into in any chatters yet, but it just started on my elo climb. Deserters are still a problem, but I'm pretty sure they pushed the patches recently that addresses it and gives them times out if they was awkward game type stuff. Some cool stuff in the mood workshop already. Really like the game and I hope more people enjoy it like me. I played around 30 hours of Broken Arrow so far, and while there's a lot like, there are also quite a few issues that make it hard to fully recommend it at this point. Let's start with the good. The gameplay itself is fun and well designed. The unit, variety deck building and tactical possibilities are honestly really interesting. The visuals are great too, some wanted environment and effect look fantastic. Overall, the game has a cool concept and definitely feels a niche that not many other games cover. The side is also pretty raw around the edges. I run into a bunch of bugs and multiplayer especially has been a pain sometimes. The game freezes this content way more often than it should, and I am playing on the decent hardware with solid internet, so I doubt it's on my side. There are also talk about cheaters in the community. Personally, I only had one word match where some seems to spam aircraft way too early, but apart from that, I haven't seen much myself. My impression is that the game was released earlier than it should be. It still feels like it's in beta in some ways, considering the price. I am not sure. At least not unless you are really into modern military RTS and willing to deal with the issue. Also, not having a proper 1 versus 1 ranked mode at launch is kind of disappointing for a wargame. In short, Broken Arrow has a great potential, but it still needs a lot of polish. I'll be keeping an eye on it and hopefully future updates will get into where it deserves to be. Thank you for watching guys and see you later my friends. Goodbye.